What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As always, the Hex tribe is in the house. Let's see who is in the comments. We've got Nate Stakes. How's it going? I know I'm probably overlapping. I just learned about this a couple minutes ago. I'm overlapping with Corey Costa, who's streaming with Wendy, a pretty prominent YouTuber. That's great. So didn't mean to overlap, but here we are. We're going to talk all about Hex today, and we've got a special guest, Jimmy Diamond. He's what you could call a Hex early adopter, or you can call him an evil OG, whatever you want to point your finger and name call him. But he's been around. You've been around for a while, right? I've seen you ever since like the first couple of days or weeks on Twitter, right? And so
yeah,
when did you get into Hex, and kind of introduce yourself and how you started off in this whole journey?
Yeah. So I got into Hex. Well, I found Richard Hart before Hex existed. So yeah, I got into Bitcoin actually in 2017 and bought the top. Oh, that's my buddy.
Nice.
Crypto surfer.
It's
It's funny he's here. He catches like all the streams.
nice.
Yeah, so I got in 2017, bought the top, and then found Richard on YouTube when he called the top back then. Not this cycle, but last cycle. And it was kind of one of those things where I didn't really necessarily like him at first because he was telling some harsh truths that a lot of people didn't want to hear, including myself. But he had he was different than everyone else out there. And as time went on, you kind of see that he just speaks the harsh truth that nobody wants to hear. And turns out he was right. So I thought it was something worth listening to and keeping in touch with. So I followed him on Twitter, and as Hex developed, I kind of watched the development of Hex and how it wasn't really, I think it's got a perception of being something that Richard Hart just built and put out there. But it was really there was a lot of input from the community.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that it's not a cash grab for Richard. It's so easy to project what you would like him to be. If you look at his flashy outfits and his outrage marketing, it's easy to look at that and say, oh, you're some evil scammer guy, but not really realize the 2 years of effort that he put into the design of Hex and the development of Hex. We were all waiting for months and months. Remember, I mean, you were there for the 4 more weeks meme, right? Because it was 4 more weeks for 4 months.
Yeah.
So if you guys think the PulseChain wait was bad, you imagine the Hex wait, guys.
Right.
This is
right.
nothing.
That's why this wait for PulseChain is really I'm not even really stressing it. There's a lot of people that are nervous and think oh, okay, this thing's never coming, huh? And they've just kind of given up. And I'm like, no, just be patient.
Yeah.
Been through this before.
Yeah. It's different this time. I will say, for people that are nervous about if PulseChain's not launching, first of all, I mean, I have 99.999% confidence that it is, right? I can never say 100% about anything, but I know Richard. I know the people that he works with and surrounds himself with. I know that what he expects of himself and what he expects of people around him. And with the thriving community, just knowing that we're here to stay, it helps me sleep at night. But essentially, the difference was that we didn't put up money in advance. There was no sacrifice for Hex. So I can see why people might be a little upset, right? But you also just need to wait it out, because that money that you sacrificed, it's not going away, guys. And you're going to be very happy, especially if you sacrificed Hex, because you sacrificed at prices that are about 10x higher than they are today.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting as if it's 10x your buying power, because we entered that sacrifice phase over a year ago. Whatever you put in is worth 10x more than it would have been now. So, that's good. That's bullish to me. It just means you'll be that much more of a whale when it does come out, whether that's this month or 2023 sometime. CBD. But yeah, when you were going through your initial assessment of Hex, I think a lot of newcomers, it's a very misunderstood coin. A lot of people, they'll hear one thing and just run with it. Like Richard Hart's a spammer, or he's the most notorious scammer in all of crypto history. And that'll be like, well, why do you think that? Oh, well, I heard it from some guy who heard it from a guy that read an article online, and the article was literally just a smear piece with no actual evidence.
It's one article that gets cycled around and rewritten and reposted, right?
Or there's one website where people, it's just full of like either half truths or accusations that are unfounded. And it's like people will go to that site and just read like these scary things that are pretty off-putting, but not really dive into any more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he got sued for spam. It's like he got a $500 fine in the year 2001 for doing some email marketing that violated a law in a particular state. Like,
Right. I
it's
know.
such
So
a
when I hear
minor
that, I'm
offense.
like, okay, so he was ahead of the curve, and
Yeah,
like, so, and that's a
that's
bad
one thing that people say. Yeah,
on the cutting edge.
people love to explode that tiny minor. It's like if somebody sued you for something 20 years ago and you settled for $500, like that's nothing of notoriety at all. So I don't understand, how sometimes people will inflate this. And it's really just to kind of fit their narrative too. He is distasteful to a lot of people. But we got to realize that the man is separate from the product that he built. He's literally just the founder. And to me, he's basically the number one cheerleader. He's just the number one promoter because he loves the coin. He wants more people to get on board. And what I always liked about HEX is that we were honest about the intentions. The only reason people buy crypto in the first place is because they think the price is going to go up. And because of everyone's greed, we actually have this nice emergent property of a decentralized financial revolution, which is great because everybody, by acting greedy for their own self-interest, if they're doing it in the right ecosystems like HEX, where it's actually self-sovereign, you also end up with this self-sovereign, 100% permissionless system where you can get trustless yield every day and take the power back into your own hands from, the Federal Reserve, which are the real scammers who are devaluing your money every single day. But we're marketing it according to the thing people want to get in here for anyway, to make mad gains, to make more money. So people look at speculation as if it's almost a bad thing. Like you should be ashamed for speculating or for wanting the price to go up. But no, HEX was built and designed with price positive feedback loops. They call them, Richard calls them pumpamentals, right? Incentives for people to hold the price up and take supply off the table while, by agreeing to not sell the price down, you're actually minting inflation as part of the staker class. But again, going back to the roots of this whole topic, we're admitting that people only like this stuff because they think it's going to go up in value. And a lot of people, I think, like to cover that up by this technical complexity of, oh, look what crazy stuff my thing does. But at the root of everything, almost all of us are here because we think there's some financial gain to be made, along with the nice side effect of all of the other features you get. There's nobody telling you how to spend your money. There's no middlemen, 100% uptime. It's unhackable. All this other stuff is great, but we want to reach financial freedom too. And so we've never really beat around the bush on that. That's what got me into HEX. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, Richard just being upfront about the fact that we're all in crypto to make mad gains. That's one thing that I kind of saw as like, he's brutally honest in a place where, at that time, I think a lot of people were talking about being in it for the technology. And, that was like a meme that was going around. And he was like, he made the meme of himself with the gold chains, or maybe somebody else did. I don't know. But
yeah,
I'm talking about, I'm in it for the technology.
Hold on.
And do you have that one? But yeah, it's just like, he's just so brutally honest, and his style of marketing doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone, but it definitely gets attention. And I think that's what he's after. Like, he doesn't really want you to like him. He just wants you to notice him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really confusing to people. This is the meme on the screen right here. I mean, the technology. It was an original meme of like an Indian man, but somebody just early on, this was one of the very first memes. Someone just photoshopped Richard's face on here, which I love. And it's hilarious because we need to find the humor in the truth, right? Like a lot of times the truth is actually funny.
Right. Yeah. And if I'm honest with myself, especially back then, it was like, yeah, I am in it to make money. That's what, and I think,
and that's also okay. Like you can be in it for the technology and for the money. Like I am in it for the cool tech. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. If everybody had a crypto wallet in their hand, we would be free from economic slavery across the world, right? We could all transact freely, borderless, peer-to-peer. But I also want to get rich. And those two things can go hand in hand. So like you can be in it for both the technology and the money. And you don't have to feel bad about that.
Mm-hmm. There is like this this like talking about money or making money is kind of taboo in society, is like, right, it's like something you're not supposed to talk about, like how much money you have, or
Yeah.
the fact that you like put it out there that, yeah, I do want to be rich one day. Like it's almost seen as like, especially I think, I grew up religious, and
Hmm.
it's like there's a lot of, in religion, you're not supposed to want to be rich, right? It's like,
See, we're taught these like logical fallacies of, oh, money is the root of all evil, right?
right.
It's
Yep.
it's not. It's whoever the money is in the hands of. And most of the millionaires and even billionaires that I've known or that I see, for example, they end up wanting that money so that they have power and influence to do more things that they think are altruistic, that help the world, and that are like Elon Musk, for example,
Hmm.
sold all of his houses, lives in his office half the time. He thinks that humans need to be a spacefaring civilization. Whether or not you agree with him on that, he's using the billions of dollars that he owns to further his mission of what he believes would make the world a better place.
Hmm.
And most people aren't psychopaths. I think most people, when they get a lot of money, they realize I got food on the table. I got the nicest house money can buy. As long as they don't start playing the who's got a bigger yacht game or keeping up with the Joneses of, I've got this mansion or that mansion. A lot of the rich billionaires, even the tech billionaires, right? They do a lot of philanthropy. They do a lot of giving back. They pay more taxes than everybody else. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of hate on rich people, I think, but I think a lot of that is misplaced.
And I'm sure you're aware of it, but the actual quote, I think it's from the Bible, right? But it's not that money is the root of all evil, but it's the love of money that's the
Ah,
root of all evil. And I don't know what the translation is of that. There's probably some other word that it came from, but probably what that means is that, like, if that's what you put first, like over all else, over like friends and family, and if you're just so obsessed with money that you're willing to do, to harm people for it, like, then that's probably not good, right?
yeah.
But yeah, just wanting to be rich, there's nothing wrong with that, because then, like you said, you could do a lot more good in the world with a lot of money than you can with no money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to get to that spot first, and you need that longer term vision. Because if every time you make money, you're just giving it away to like the homeless people, that's great. I mean, good for you, but you're only affecting a few people's lives. Whereas if you build an idea that, or maybe a company that employs thousands of people and provides for families, you could argue that, and then the goods and products that the goods and services that they create is having a positive effect on other people's lives. Uh, that's just so much more amplified at these higher tiers of wealth. Uh, H. Lux says Jimmy Diamond is hung like a horse. Legend has it. Do you know this guy?
I do know that guy. I'm surprised he's watching.
Confirm or deny or no comment.
No comment.
Okay, Jordan.
Red Bull can. I should have a Red Bull can in the back somewhere, huh?
Yeah, yeah, man. Well, we got another question for you. Jordan wants to know, how is HEX not a pyramid scheme?
So, how is HEX not a pyramid scheme? So, a pyramid scheme involves levels typically. I mean, if we're going by like the textbook definition,
Yeah.
right? And there are no levels in HEX, right?
Right. You look at what is one of the prominent ones, Herbalife or something. A lot of a pyramid scheme is also known as an MLM scheme, a multi-level marketing scheme. What
Right.
that is it places the maximum amount of middlemen between the seller and the buyer. So the top guy, the top seller, he sells a bunch of resale packages to, 50 more guys and says, hey, you guys could all start a business off of this as long as you now sell these packages to even more people.
Right.
And there's actually a law that limits the amount of middlemen you can now have in a pyramid scheme. So
Yeah,
technically
it's
pyramid
the
schemes are
Amway. I
legal.
think it's the Amway law or something like that, where a certain amount of your profits have to come from actual sale of products, not sale of the packages, to sell the products. So
Right.
so that's where a pyramid scheme fails, right? Is where it sells a product, or like a hope and a dream of being able to make income off selling this product, and then all you get is people just selling the product to sell, or not the products, but the package to sell the products, like an onboarding tool for people just to sell this idea of being able to make
Yeah.
money. in the future, selling other people on this idea.
Right.
And they're not actually selling any product in the end,
Exactly.
So, I mean, I would say a hex is just more like Bitcoin. If you're right, if you're comparing it to something, there's no referral program. There's no tier system. There's just, right, you and the contract, you and the code. So you buy your coins, you stake your coins, you monetize the time value of money and mint more coins in the future.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's nothing like a pyramid scheme at all. There's no levels to any of this. And maybe the same people that would call Hex a pyramid scheme would also call Bitcoin a pyramid scheme. And a lot of these people, they use the word in an incorrect way to describe just anything that they don't like or that they don't understand the value in. Because a lot of them resort to this primitive argument of, oh, well, it requires new people buying to get in. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, that is pretty much every asset, every cryptocurrency is a competing narrative meme. And the Bitcoin guys are trying to onboard people into their ecosystem. Hacks we're trying to onboard people into our ecosystem.
I mean, how do you think stocks work, right? Like, how does the stock go up? Like, people buy it.
Stocks are almost entirely based on speculation nowadays. You can look at the PE ratios of stocks and see that very, very little of the stock is even related to their so-called fundamental value anymore. And it's just all inflation of inflated speculative value. Same thing with houses, cars, groceries. What if there were no new buyers? Then the price would go down.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the same with even something like gold, right? Yeah. There's a market for it. There's a limited supply of it. And, if you have more buyers than sellers, price goes up. If people decide, they don't want it and they, the majority of the market participants start selling, then price goes down, so that's just how markets work.
And I think people get angry that when they don't understand that just because they don't like something, like, you don't have to like Hex if you're watching this video, that's okay. But just realize that there's a very large group of other people that do see value in it, that do believe in it. And I think it's kind of a snowball effect, and it's currently in motion. The snowball is rolling down the hill. I don't think it can be stopped at this point. I mean, it's been around for 3 years working flawlessly. But people get mad because they say, oh, it can't have any value. And you ask them why, and they'll give you a reason. But the real reason is just because they don't believe it has any value. But their beliefs are just different than other people's beliefs. I mean, we all only value things because we all agree on the shared narrative or the imagined fiction of it all. Same thing with the dollar. If everyone lost their belief that the dollar had value, the world would go to hell in a handbasket pretty soon. So we all just imagine these constructs together, and it's more of just how many people can we get into this network of all the benefits that come along with the Hex narrative, which are, again, all the benefits of crypto in general. But on top of that, trustless yield, it's safe, triple audited, great community, so many good things going for it. Like, it's much younger than Bitcoin, for example. What are some of the things that make you confident about Hex's future?
Well, just the fact that, like you said, it's been around for a long time already. We know that, those of us who have looked into it a little deeper know, the code's solid. I don't read code myself, but you kind of, being around for a while, you learn to see members in the community that do know what they're talking about, that can read code, write code, that develop products, and they've looked at it in depth and, kind of given the thumbs up. And so it's like anything, like Bitcoin. I don't know Bitcoin's code either, but, I can trust that it's going to be around for a while still. I don't necessarily think it's the best, investment, but, it's probably better than the S&P 500 or something like that.
Yeah. It's a gateway drug for a lot of people into crypto, and I respect Bitcoin for what it's done. I just, I think it's a bit late saying that you can still make life-changing money when it's 12 or 13 years old. And then there's kind of the new kid on the block, which is Ethereum, Hex, PulseChain, all these new innovations coming out.
Right.
They all have more potential for the price to go up if that's what you care about. But you can buy Bitcoin and the price is going to go up still. It's still going to go up. It's just what's going to pump harder, really, is the newer things with lower liquidity that less people know about have infinitely much more opportunity to the upside.
Mm-hmm. What's the price of Bitcoin lately anyways? 20K? somewhere
About
around there.
20K. It's
So that's what I was thinking about that the other day is like, that's when I bought was the 20K top, you know? And if I would have been just sitting in Bitcoin, like hoping for the price to go up, I would just be at like break even today, you know, which is pretty shitty. Doesn't that suck? Like,
after 5 years or
yeah,
5 years. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, why bother? That's kind of my take on it. There's better things out there. And if you look for them and can kind of identify them, then you're going to have better upside. But then on the other hand, yeah, like you said, the people that aren't in crypto at all, and they're like, okay, well, the only one I would feel comfortable buying is Bitcoin. It's like, okay, then sure, go ahead and add some to your portfolio, you know. But yeah, otherwise, I don't really think it's really
It's
worth
a
it.
starting point because it's a household name, but on the other side of that same coin, because it's a household name and everyone knows about it, you're not gonna. It might do a 5x in the next bull market. It might do maybe even a 10 or maybe a 10x, maybe. But will it do 100x or 1000x? Probably not. Probably not. And that's really life-changing money, right? Because you can make a 10x, and even if you put in $10,000 and you make a 10x, you've got $100,000, and that's good. That'll get you through, maybe a couple years of your life, but it's not really financial freedom money these days. $100,000. It's a lot of money, that's for sure, but you can blow through that money in a few years and be right back to square one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you want to reach, I think, what's called a financial escape velocity, enough money to give you enough runway until essentially you're dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you could build up enough wealth to, basically to put into safe investments and generate enough yield, like a moderate yield, like I don't know, 7% or something like that.
Yeah.
And live off of that income, then that's real financial freedom.
And I like what you said about yield too, because we're in an environment where everybody's chasing yield. And the whole goal of cryptocurrency was to remove the corrupt middlemen. A lot of the mechanisms that we have for creating yield today are things like CDs that are owned by banks that pay you pitifully low interest rates, terrible customer service. They're closed on weekends. You can't even. You're lucky if they actually give you your money, and when they do, they'll give you maybe 1% APY for locking up 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of offensive. We need, yeah, and we need better options.
Yeah, but it's still kind of pitiful. Or when you look at inflation and you're like, okay, well,
yeah,
I'm still losing, right?
But then you see that there's $7 trillion locked up in CDs, and you're like, okay, well, if we can do better, and the goal of crypto is to replace middlemen, then what HEX does is it replaces the idea of a time deposit. So it's nothing like it's analogous to a time deposit at a bank, but it's far, far different because you actually own your own money and you're minting yield trustlessly. There's no central authority giving it to you. You're just minting the inflation of the coin itself. So it prints more of itself, but it only goes to pay stakers that vow not to sell the price down. So that's the mechanism. Really quick though, shout out to Bitfinesse. He said, "Thank you for the tip, dude. That's really generous. It's easy to manage risk improperly. I see people buying sporadically and fretting about price. Or you could manage risk by only buying things that you would want to hold for decades and let the market be the market. It's a fabulous life." Bitfinesse is one of the guys that's always pretty much got it. Kind of like yourself, Jimmy. I'm sure like we got into this thing because it allows us to have more free time in our life. Like you don't have to get on YouTube and shill HEX. I mean, you can, that'd be great. I'd love it if you guys all did, but what it really does is it just gives you free time and you can just let the market do what it's going to do. And as long as you believe that the price 5 years from now is going to be higher than the price today, you can set it and forget it. That's kind of what HEX was designed to do, was set it and forget it. But a lot of people, they buy and then they refresh the price feed every single hour of every day. That's not going to help your risk management skills there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, like when I got into crypto before HEX even existed, that was my strategy with Bitcoin anyways, was going to be a buy and hold. It was like, I'm probably not going to touch it till I retire. That was my mindset. So HEX is just like Bitcoin on steroids. It's like holding Bitcoin, but you earn yield, and it's newer, so it's appreciating faster. So it's just like, why wouldn't I want yield on my assets that I hold, right? That's kind of like, if you listen to anyone who knows personal finance, they're always talking about passive income, generating yield. Like if you're just holding unproductive assets like gold or, like they're not really doing a whole lot for you. You want something like real estate, or anything that can generate, like if you have a house, it's appreciating over time and you can rent it out and make money off of it, right? And the HEX is kind of the same way, where the asset's appreciating and you are earning more coins as you hold them.
Absolutely. So basically what you're saying is own assets that pay you.
Exactly. Yep.
Assets that pay you. A house, some crypto. It'd be great if it was generating yield. Even just investing in yourself, investing in knowledge and education. That yourself is an asset that pays future you. So even investing in education is still gonna have a different kind of yield in the future.
Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the most important things you can invest in, right? Is yourself and your personal brand. And that's something I'm kind of learning. And that's why I'm putting my face out there and trying to get more comfortable doing stuff like this, is that to have an impact is super important. If you have all this knowledge and information that you just keep to yourself, it doesn't do a whole lot of good to the world.
Yeah.
But to build a brand, to put your face out there and to share that and impact other lives, that's kind of really what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's why I'm doing it. And it's good to see you out here. I mean, I've known you virtually for a long time, but
yeah. And I forgot to say, like in the beginning, like, thanks for having me on. And you're one of the faces in the crypto space and the HEX space that I've watched for a long time and gotten a lot of value from.
It's my pleasure.
So thank you. And one video I saw of yours that was really like impactful was back, I think it was 2020. It was like COVID was going on. The HEX just launched. And you made one about, what was it called? It was Pascal's wager.
Oh yeah. Pascal's
Do you remember
wager.
that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was like a really like eye-opening kind of way to think about things and mitigate risk. Like there's two outcomes really. Either you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
About your, what you think is going to happen, and then think about the consequences either way, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a limited downside, you might want to go with the one that has a better upside.
Exactly. The gist of the story is it's basically too risky to sit around and do nothing. Pascal's wager comes from an ancient, I don't know if it's like Greek philosophy or whatever, but somebody once asked, how can you be so sure in your belief in God? And the response to that was, well, if I'm right, I go to heaven, and if I'm wrong, then there was no God anyway, so it doesn't even matter because we're all fucked, right? So it's almost just people perceive that they have so much to lose when really you have very little to lose and everything to gain, as long as you have the right information. I'm not saying throw your life savings in crypto, but man, if you're not throwing a little bit of money, I think you don't want this opportunity to pass you by. And even something as small as $1,000, could go one day in a couple years, could be as large as 100,000, or even, dare I say, more. But I mean, once I start saying these higher numbers, it starts to sound really ridiculous, but they are actually possible. Like HEX did a 10,000x, and even with its current crash, I've still made about 1,000x worth of gains. You know what I mean? So that's pretty remarkable. And I think a lot of coins in the next cycle, particularly HEX, PulseChain, PulseX, and a couple of other ones, are poised to do, multiple X's again. So I think you're gonna want to pay attention.
And that's I actually have a book right here that I was reading that kind of inspired me to get out here. It's called The Dip.
Nice.
And this is like, it's reminding me of, like when I got into crypto, I bought the top. I made the mistake a lot of people do, but a lot of people get discouraged and they give up when times get tough. And that's what this book is about, is that when people go through, the dip, which is when a job gets hard, or when it doesn't necessarily have to do with markets in particular, but just anything in life where times get hard, a lot of people throw in the towel and give up. But that's actually, if you're convicted in your beliefs in what you're doing, if you can stick through the dip, that's where you're going to make it. That's when things come back and they turn back up and things start looking up again, then you're going to do very well. And too often, too many people give up when times are hard, like in the dip. But yeah, then we're in the dip, so this is the best opportunity for
Yeah.
anybody not in crypto. Like throw a little money at it, get some money in now, start, set up a plan, start dollar cost averaging, do your research, stay tuned in, and learn as much as you can, because this is the time where money's to be made. And I'm not sure like that we're at the bottom yet. Like, I don't know. Nobody knows, right? But
I think we're close.
it
If we're
seems
not
like
there
we're
already.
close. Yeah, it really feels like we're close. And so whether it's 6 weeks from now or 6 months from now or longer, like I don't know, but set up a plan and stick to it. And I'm pretty confident in 2 or 3, 5, 10 years down the road, you're going to be happy you did.
All right. The Dip, huh? By
The Dip, it's a great book. Check
Seth
it out.
Godin.
Yeah, and it's only like 60 pages long. It's a pretty small, easy read.
You had me at 60 pages. I'm
Yeah.
not a big reader, but I can definitely check that one out. I love audiobooks. I used to love reading, but that sounds like a book worth reading. I'm just Wikipediaing it. It says explains the concept of the dip, a temporary setback that can be overcome with persistence. That goes along with that famous Calvin Coolidge quote as well. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Not even education or anything like that. It's really just continuing to try and continuing to believe. And it's easier to believe and have faith when you know all the facts too. And now, again, for new people that might be watching, if you're thinking about HEX or crypto in general, you might have experienced some FUD or something misunderstood with HEX, and that is the fact that there's probably an entity in HEX, probably Richard Hart, I don't know, that owns about 90%, that has provably never sold a coin, but that also owns up to, guesses are around 90% of the total supply. And people grapple with this topic a lot because we should have an immune reaction to somebody owning a ton of something, because we don't want an authoritarian regime, right? But I do have to differentiate first and foremost that centralized ownership in a coin is not the same as centralized being technically decentralized, meaning centralized access to the code would be bad. If there was a guy like Richard that could change the rules of the code, or if there was a barrier to entry for human beings getting into to HEX itself, that would be what I would call the bad kind of centralization. But economic centralization or centralization of wealth just kind of happens in every ecosystem, especially in businesses, right? There's a small group controlling most of the shares, but it always works out because that small group is incentivized to actually give a shit about the project enough to help keep it moving forward. On top of this, you can also look at the fact that he's never sold a coin, the central person that owns 90% of the coins. But what's your take on this? Like, when you first heard about that, how did you react?
It didn't really, it didn't affect me the same way it seems to affect a lot of people, because I understood that, like, even Bitcoin, when it came out, was 100% centralized, right? Didn't Satoshi pre-mine like pretty much all the coins, and then as other people learned about it and had the ability to start mining on their computer at the time, then they did, and they got some of the supply. So the early people really got the majority of the supply, and HEX kind of worked kind of the same way, I guess. If you got in the launch phase, you got a big portion of the coins. But then if you know how the share system works, you know that it becomes more decentralized in supply over time. And the OA is actually getting diluted over time. So if we look at what it's done and assume it's going to continue to keep doing that, then it's going to continue to keep getting diluted. And in 5 or 10 years, it's going to have a lot less. It's going to be a lot less centralized, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers. I haven't ran the numbers and figured out like exactly how much, but
well, I think if you compound the 3.69% inflation and assume that most of that isn't going to the origin address and it's instead going to real people, stakers, you could just multiply like 3.6% every year and see how far we get. I think after like 5 years we're down to maybe like 70 or 60% ownership, and then after 10 years we're down to much more. But when Jimmy says diluted, guys, he basically just means that the coins are sitting there liquid and not staked, and because inflation of the coin is only paid to stakers, the stakers are getting more and more of the HEX percentage wise. Meanwhile, the origin address is voluntarily diluting itself by just sitting there and doing nothing. The only thing the origin address has ever done, not only has it never sold a coin, but it has made beneficial liquidity plays. to actually help the ecosystem of HEX. So it's put up liquidity when it was needed, especially in the early days, and more recently with Hedron. So it's made moves also on big payday by staking and saving the longer term stakers. The origin address has acted, if you do a behavioral analysis, it's only acted to the benefit of people that believe in the project for longer term. And so there's that aspect, that component. And I think a lot of people also need to realize that in every coin, there are central whales that, yeah, they could all dump tomorrow if they went haywire. In almost every cryptocurrency, what if Satoshi comes back and dumps all his coins, right? We can play these games of making made up stuff all day long, made up scenarios, but nobody really has the incentive to do that because we want to keep the game going.
You can also look at stuff in the real world, right? Outside of crypto, that like stocks, or right, like Elon, how much does he own of his companies, or Jeff Bezos, things like that. And you see the same thing is kind of true in almost everything you look at. Maybe to different like levels, but yeah, like Elon or Jeff Bezos or any large holder in a company, especially when it's young, like a 1 or 2 or 3 years old. Yeah, they own like a huge, like 90%. I don't think that's very uncommon, right? And they could dump the price and destroy their product if they wanted to, but why would they want to?
Yeah. And if you go on Etherscan today, like the image in the thumbnail was just a screenshot of Etherscan showing that of all the sacrifice money that was raised for PulseX and PulseChain, that all came right back around, into HEX, and the majority of it was HEX. And so now the sacrifice wallet, it holds 43% of all HEX in one wallet alone, which to me is a bullish thing because this sacrifice money, again, we can't be sure what it's going to do, but if it acts in the favor of PulseChain and PulseX, I think it's going to be used just to provide cushioning in terms of liquidity and help us reach price parity a little bit faster. See, I really just think people get hung up on the securities law aspect. There's a lot of coins out there that are taking giant chunks of the total coin supply for themselves. There's a lot of project teams. I'm not going to name them, but they'll take 25, 30, sometimes 50% of the coin for themselves. And then they'll make all these crazy promises about what work they're going to do for you in the future. But HEX can't do that because it wants to abide by securities laws. And the current securities regulations that exist today are that you're a security if you promise work from the effort of others. Right? So if you invest into a common pool with the expectation of profit of work from others, you're at risk of being a security, and that would basically bar you from being on any crypto exchange until the regulations get more clear. And I'm actually looking forward to them getting more clear because I think people get caught up in the nonsense of they want their promises. All they want at the end of the day is a promise that Richard's not going to dump all the coins, or a promise that, hey, these origin address coins, they're not going to be used to kill the project. I mean, to me, it seems like a pretty safe bet. Like, why would anybody just nuke their own project? But people are so addicted to their promises. They want their promises, but they can't have them because HEX is trying to actually follow the shitty laws that are in place. And they're outdated laws and they need to be changed. I'm hoping in the next couple of years, this is one silver lining with the whole regulation thing. I know we're in crypto. We're here to, destroy the banks, but at the same time, would be nice to play in an environment where we actually where we had more regulatory clarity, because if everything's a security, then great. Then we can go ahead and make all kinds of promises about what we're going to do for HEX in the future. But we don't, and nobody can do that right now because you don't want to just say, you don't want HEX being a security. But on top of that, people seem to do this all the time, and I will show you guys a screen right now. I don't mean to pick on this particular cryptocurrency. I don't mean to pick on it, but it is Chainlink. And so Chainlink, has gone under similar scrutiny. Is Chainlink centralized? And obviously, I think this article misses the mark because, again, they don't differentiate between economic and technical centralization. They're two different kinds, very different kinds of centralization. But they're saying that Chainlink made headlines when it found out that only 100 wallets owned 81% of the supply. And you don't hear people bashing Chainlink. I mean, people seem to love Chainlink in the DeFi space. They don't seem to have any problem with for whatever reason, there's a double standard here. But there's more to the distribution that meets the eye. So this article is trying to take a critical look But then it says Chainlink node operators own 35 and the team holds 25%. So if the team holds 25%, what's to stop them from dumping that on the market? They could crash the price probably to zero because there's not enough liquidity to absorb 25% of the total coins in all of circulation. You know what I mean? And so the next key takeaway to make it all better again is that, funds held by the team are aimed towards bootstrapping development. Now, how does this article person know this? They don't know this. They're just making this up because no promises were given, as far as I know, by the team, promising any kind of managerial effort at all. But the article basically just says, it's okay because they can own 25 or 35 or what is that, 60% total. That's okay if they own 60% because they're good guys and they're going to help us, right? That's a nice little narrative that they're telling themselves, right? And then you scroll all the way down to look for like, where do they actually say that? Nowhere in the article do they actually make a promise, right? So all there is in this crypto article is that, it's true that the team holds enough link to manipulate price action. They've only sold 5% over the last 3 years. So I guess it's okay for the Chainlink team to sell 5%. Meanwhile, the origin address and hex is sold 0%. Okay, but 5%, that's fine. They can do whatever they want. It's their money. And then it says, to many users, this suggests that funds are being used to further network development. All this means is that people think that they're doing a good stuff with this. They don't even know. So this kind of journalism is really just very subjective, very opinionated. And they're just saying, at the end of the day, it's fine that they own that much because most people think they're going to use it for network development. They might not, but most people think it. So we're all good, right? This is just such a double standard that I see from a lot of people that want to take jabs at HEX because they don't understand that it's trying to follow the rules as best as it can. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Richard's always been like very selective with his wording and kind of dance around that, in the most eloquent ways possible. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of cryptos you're seeing are coming under scrutiny, like XRP, Chainlink, because they launched in a certain way. EOS, weren't they one too? But HEX did it very different, and PulseChain did it very different. And people are kind of like scared of what they don't know. So if you tell them, you kind of like hint at certain things, but tell them, I can't tell you too much because, then I'm putting the project at risk.
Yeah.
But people don't really see through that. They don't really see what's going on.
Yeah. They want to be told exactly what's going to be done with the money. It's like,
right. Where's the ETH going? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm sure Richard would love to make you all kinds of promises, but his hands are tied. And he's said that verbatim on an Ian Bellina stream. He said it one time. He's like, guys, I'd love to make all the promises in the world, but I literally can't.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've got Zoe says, did you know that Richard Hart once farted a man to death? That's why they call him Richard Fart. No, wow, that's crazy.
Good insight there. Thank you.
Crypto Coffee, are you aware of the correlation between global warming and Richard Hart's farts? No. I'd like to see the chart. Thank you for that info though. Yeah, man. What am I missing, Jimmy? What do you want to tell people that? Because I'm really focused on making this channel as much for the community as it is for new people. I want to get everybody involved, but
yeah,
we're OGs essentially that have conviction in HEX. So what do you have to tell new people that might be on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, my reason for wanting to like get out there and speak more is to get new people, to kind of show people there's opportunity here and help educate them. It doesn't really do us a lot of good to just, go on Twitter and shit post and, I don't know, like circle jerk kind of thing with the HEX community. But if we can reach out somehow and show new people that there's opportunity, that might help.
Well, here's the thing that you were saying before, especially before the stream, you were talking about this is the time where you're most confident. And I agree. When we're down at these lows, and we think this might be almost low. Obviously, we don't know, guys, but this is the time where we're out chilling pretty strongly because there's not much more downside possible, in my humble opinion.
Right. Yeah. If you've been in crypto for a while at all, you know that things go in cycles, right? If you've been through 1 or 2 crypto cycles, this is like par for the course. This is the norm. You know, this isn't, crypto's not dying, HEX isn't dying. Yeah, price is down and it sucks, right? But if you've been through it before, it sucks a lot less because you're kind of like, you're okay with it, you're ready for it, you expected it. But yeah, I mean, there's opportunity out there. And, you know, like it was hard for me I told some friends about HEX in the very beginning. But did I want to go tell like everyone I knew and put my face out there? Like I can risk my own money and I'm okay with that. But like, I would feel really terrible if I told, you know, advised someone of something and it didn't work out. And when things are newer, there's a little more of that risk. The longer they've been around, is that the Lindy effect? Is that what it's called? Absolutely. The longer they've been around, the more likely they are to stay around.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, I think the actual definition just uses more words, but that's what it is basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, HEX has been around, like you said, 3 years now, or coming up on 3 years.
Well, it's got that legitimacy now. You know, people were really taking a risk back then, but now that we've seen it run flawlessly for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, how much longer do you guys need it to survive before you're like, you know?
That's a long time. That's like a decade in crypto, right? That's like, that's a long time. So, and also the fact that price is down. We're in a bear market, right? Prices of everything are down. You rarely see the opportunity of any crypto to go down 90%. And that's like an opportunity to buy, even for ones that like XRP went down 90% like 3 times. The last time it never even reached a new all-time high from its last high from last cycle. But it still went up a lot, and there was opportunity there if something's down 90%. So anyways, I think HEX will reach new all-time highs, and I think the best time is any, like if you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting and looking for a good opportunity, I think now, you know, in the next 6 months is that opportunity.
I could easily see it in the single-digit dollars. It might even peak out in the double-digit dollars, like $10, maybe even as crazy as 15. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, and neither does anybody. So anybody claiming, you know, they've got a price target that they're expecting, that person's probably going to be wrong. Okay, but it's easy for me to fathom it going that high, just because that would still be an order of magnitude less high than a 10,000x. Even if HEX did a 1,000x, an order of magnitude lower on this cycle, what is that? $33, $30, 30 cents, $3. It'd be $30. And now then we're going to crash again too at some point. So, you know, we might end up right back at $3 someday.
And also we got to remember that HEX, like we said before, is a productive asset. So if you buy coins and stake them, you're making a high APY of more coins that you're going to have in the future. So that I've always looked at it like this, like if HEX performed poorly, you know, say it did like what Bitcoin did, like it went flat for a 3-year period, and then you unlock your coins, you're like, oh, well, I earned like, you know, 30% APY per year times 3. I kind of like doubled my money anyways, even though the asset price stayed flat, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at it that way, you're like, how is this not a winner? Like, I don't get it, you know?
Like, look at the absolute doomsday scenario of, what if it doesn't even make an all-time high? What if it just taps 50 cents again? It's still a 15x. It's still a 15x from these prices. And if you make interest during that time, like I'm not like that. That's not even, that scenario is incredibly unlikely. But even if HEX didn't make an all-time high, a 15x can be pretty solid. If you know, you're talking about if you put $100,000 in and you make a 15x, that's a lot. But for people that, you know, are starting out, I understand you need more than a 15x, and I think HEX is the one. Yeah. HEX is the one for you. PulseChain probably as well. Maybe a couple of other ones. But we also got to realize that 99% of the coins out there are not going to make it. Either they're going to get rug pulled intentionally or unintentionally. They're going to get hacked due to just oversight. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Or they're just not going to make, they're going to make lackluster gains. They might also make gains. A lot of these coins might do pretty well, but the whole diversification thing is kind of a myth, because if you're in crypto and it all goes up and down together, the only thing you should care about is the coin that pumps the hardest. It's as simple as that. The most pumpability.
Yeah. Yeah, and in Hex we have a lot of things that other coins don't have. You know, I mean, just look at all the hate it's gotten, the gatekeeping, the the shit talking, everything. Everyone thought it was going to fail. It's still around. We've watched like everything else, Celsius, Luna, all these things just fail and burn to the ground, right? And Hex is still around, working fine. People are building on top of it. We have Hedron and Icosa and Maxi and all the perpetuals, and all these other things that are the ecosystem's just growing and growing.
Yeah, it's getting stickier because of all this stuff people are building. And it's funny, the things that fail are the things that everybody loved a year ago. People were drooling over Celsius. They thought Luna was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And people were hating on Hex, and it's the only one that of those three that hasn't gotten hacked or just obliterated, So the Lindy effect, guys. Yeah, like Jimmy was saying, the future life expectancy of something is proportional to its existing lifespan. So the longer something's been around, the longer something's probably going to be around. So take it from that approach, take it from the what do you have to lose approach, take it from the pumpamentals, the community, the 100% uptime, the triple audits, whatever angle you want to pull. I don't see how it's possibly bearish.
Well said.
Yeah. We have other things coins don't have. Yeah, like a cryptocurrency. Yeah, we do. We have a decentralized cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and we have a community that teaches people to hold their own keys and be safe with their seed phrase. And a lot of communities that don't even know about this stuff. Like when I meet people if I'm at a party or a get together or whatever, I see someone from high school or that I've known years back, and we start talking about crypto, they get all excited. They're like, "Oh, cool, you're in crypto. Like, what coins do you like?" And they've never heard of Hex, like, first of all, which means there's a lot of opportunity. And they don't even understand. They just hold their coins on an exchange, or, they don't even get what it means to have private custody of your coins. So these are important things that everyone needs to learn, right? And we have a community that's very, very aware of these things and trying to help other people learn them.
Yeah. We try to follow the core principles, not your keys, not your coins. And people forget so quickly. And it's like, it happened in 2017. I'm sure you were there. Exchanges were getting hacked on the reg, like once a month. There was a new exchange hack, and it was a shit show. And it still kind of is. I mean, a lot of exchanges get hacked all the time. But now it's even different than that. Now it's like sketchy smart contracts and all this other type of risk that exists now. So unless you're holding your keys in your own hands and you're not connecting to anything nefarious, like, it's a really dangerous world out there too. A lot of ways to get wrecked.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Hey, do we have any questions in the chat? We got Jimmy Diamond here for another couple minutes. So anybody got questions, feel free to ask now. What's up, Crypto Artie? Welcome, Pulse Hexcan Zenians. Oh, yeah, Zen. That'll be interesting on Saturday.
Yeah, you're doing a stream Saturday with Richard, right?
Yeah.
And Hexologist.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. Is it going to be a cardboard cutout, or is it actually going to be him?
It's the real deal, bro.
Real
I know.
deal?
Hexo, cool. He really lost everyone's trust the first time. Because he was, for people that don't know, it's like, yeah, he said he was having a stream with Richard, and it was just the cardboard cutout. No, he's confirmed. He's coming. I'm pretty excited. I'm going through my list of questions, so I'm writing stuff down that I've been meaning to ask him for a long time. If anyone else has questions, if it's not already on my list, I'll try to add it to the list.
Have you streamed with him before?
I've been on a couple streams with him, not one-on-one, but for the big payday stream, he was on there. I was on there. I think I've been on like 3 streams with him in my history, but not a direct combo. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not expecting any updates, but I'm sure he feels like he's got to say something. So
yeah,
we'll see, guys. And it's real, man. It's me, Hexo. It's crypto artists, Hexplosive artist, and Richard. We're just probably going to be listening a lot, but Yeah. We got a question here. What is the possibility of HEX becoming a tradable currency? Meaning I go to the store and use HEX to purchase goods and services. I think that's the final step. I think you need, in order to progress, you need store of value first, and then you need unit of account, and then finally you get to medium of exchange. I think that's because that's what money is. It's those three things. I think that we're maybe 30 to 40 years off from it being an actual currency, but I really do think it's possible. And that's probably going to sound delusional because we're so early on the currency part. But for right now, just enjoy the store of value part.
At that point, the narrative changes though, because you don't really want it to be something you use to buy goods and services, right? Because
not right now, not unless it's already the unit of account. Because if it's the unit of account, that means we've already won. But yeah, right now,
yeah, because then you want something stable if you're going to be buying and selling things with it. That's why we use like stable coins to buy different cryptos, or the dollar to buy goods and services. But if you had an asset that is going up in value, you would never want to sell it and buy bread and groceries and your car.
And if HEX becomes stable, that's great, because even if it's stable and it's still making like 10% yield APY, that's fantastic. Where else are you going to get that from the traditional system? But also, if you were to just go ahead and try to accept HEX for your stuff today, it'd be good for you if you're bullish on HEX and you want to acquire more HEX. That's actually a great business move. But the people that people that accept crypto today, they sell it right away for dollars because they can't just hang on to something that's going up and down so much. So it's actually not that good for the price if every time you accept it at your store, you have to dump it to get that stability. So, but again, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you want to sell your goods and services for HEX, I think that's a great way to accumulate more HEX. A derivative of HEX could be a currency. Maybe. That's so far in the future, dude. I have no idea. But yeah, HEX. I think HEX will be the premier store of value for the next decade at least. Let's see what else. When you be bullish on Blippi coin, yeah, I'm aping in. Once Blippi coin comes out, I'm done with HEX, guys. I'm crypto. I'm Blippi coffee from now on. What else? Will we get cheap PHEX at PulseChain launch? I don't know. I'll give that one to you.
To me?
Yeah. Will we get cheap PHEX at PulseChain launch, and how quick will it take to get to the same price as EHEX?
I don't know. I mean, I used to not think so, but now that we've seen like HEX on ETH-W, what is it, WHEX or whatever, so we're seeing that take place kind of already, like something similar is going on, and that is like a cheaper HEX. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way to say exactly how quickly. I am of the opinion that yes, we're going to get an opportunity to buy the dip on PHEX, but why even wait? You know what I mean? Like why risk it that there's a dip on PHEX if there's literally a dip on EHEX now and then you get a 1-for-1 copy?
Right.
Like, why would you want to play that future game if it's a maybe when you know there's cheap HEX now?
I guess just to play devil's advocate, they would say because you could get more with fewer dollars if it plays out that way. But then you're taking a risk, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not waiting, but
yeah. And keep an eye on ETH-W and HEX-W, see what happens there, and maybe there's something we can learn from that chain. But I still don't think that chain has nearly the same, fundamentals that PulseChain has. It's got community, infrastructure, bridges, all from day one on PulseChain. You don't really have any of that. It's a struggle on HEX-W right now to try to get up to price parity because there's not a lot of infrastructure. A lot of whales seem to be dumping or whatever. I don't know. Very thin liquidity. So we just need to wait and see on that.
So that's with the second part of that question. How quick will it get to the same price as EHEX? So it probably going to get there a lot quicker, I would say, than it is with HEX on ETH-W, right? Because like you said, there is going to be, everything's already being built. It's going to be ready to go at launch. Yeah. And so when PulseChain launches, it's all going to be there. And who knows, large holders might just put up bridges and all the liquidity right away.
It's all about that bridge in liquidity, and PulseChain
Yeah.
is going to be positioned with everything it needs to get that. Like, it's got pulseramp.com right off the bat. We've got an origin address that, hey, I'm not saying I expect anything, but if he were to bond liquidity between PHEX and EHEX on PulseChain, man, that sure would help with price parity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, dudes and dudettes. Anybody want to go to Chat 69 dating site? Just kidding.
What?
We always get spammers in our comments, and so there's always some like porn links and stuff going on over there.
Oh, I can't even see I'm just in StreamYard, so I don't even see the comments.
You don't see the comments?
No. Oh, I'm in private chat. Oh,
there's a comments button, bro.
Oh, click on it. I've been missing them this whole time. It's probably for the better, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm getting all the questions from.
Oh, okay.
How do you suggest we continue to show and being in non-coiners into crypto? I kind of don't understand. How do I?
He's saying, how do we bring no coiners into crypto?
Yeah.
So get the word out there. Do stuff like this. That's why I'm jumping on stream. Like, I'm just trying to share with people what I've learned over the years and share the opportunity that's out there.
What's your day job, or what was your day job?
So I was in packaging machinery sales for like 10 years. I just did like business to business sales of machinery and equipment.
Nice.
And plastics and stuff like that, like bagging equipment. Yeah, it was super fun. So, but then, I made enough to where I felt like comfortable taking some time off, and I took some time off, and I got my real estate license a while ago. So I've recently been jumping into that. I joined a brokerage, and so I'm a new real estate agent, I guess you could say. That's what I tell people when I meet them, and they're like, "What do you do?"
Yeah,
I'm a real estate agent.
That's the normal thing to say.
What's that?
Yeah, you don't want to tell them, "Oh, I'm in this really obscure crypto." It's like, no, I'm a real estate agent.
It's funny the way the conversation goes when you tell people like you're in crypto. They're like, "Oh, so you trade? You like day trade?" And I'm like, "No, nope."
That's funny, huh? People think that's the only thing you can do.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's fun, like, being able to, like, obviously that's the end goal, right? Is to like reach retirement and have comfortable, like a cushion of some money to live off of. But like, what do you really want to do with the rest of your life? It gets kind of old just sitting around and doing nothing all day. I did it for a year. It was fun, and I'm ready to like start working again. And
you're never really retired. You just stop calling it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what you do is on your own terms. So, hey, I want to be a real estate agent. All right, I'm just going to go out and take a risk and do it. Like,
right. Yeah. And really the reason is I don't want to be like selling houses forever, but I want to own a lot of houses. And so like rental properties and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the long-term plan, is just to learn as much as I can about real estate, the market, just kind of like I did with crypto, and continue, like real estate and crypto, I think are a good, like they're very different, but they're both good things to invest in. I mean, because in times like now, wouldn't it be nice to have like some rental properties thrown off passive income, and then you have extra money to keep buying into crypto with, right? So you want, like, that's real diversification too. When people say like diversify, like if you're just buying like Bitcoin and ETH and whatever, that's not true diversification. But you want to diversify like among asset classes, not just within like the same asset.
That's good advice. Yeah.
I've
always wanted to buy a house too. I'm just waiting. I think we're all waiting for that housing crash, right?
Yeah, I think it's coming. I know. What a great time for me to jump into like real estate, huh? Right now, perfect timing.
Hey man, I think it's the next domino to fall. So
I think so too.
I'm not buying any real estate anytime soon, but maybe the next bull, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's really hard to tell. It's like if we get if you think about it, like the worst real estate crash ever that we know of, right, was 2008. And real estate only went down on average like 30 or 40% maybe. which is like nothing in crypto. So it's just funny to think like people thought the world was ending and like real estate's collapsing, and it's like really.
Dude, that's actually a great point, because you see that mentality even in the stock market. You know, the S&P 500 is down 30-40%. Everyone's crying in the streets. Everyone's yelling, like people are terrified, and then we're just sitting there like, only 40%, really?
Yeah.
What is 40%? Like I do 90-80% dips all day. Like,
right.
what are you worried about, guys?
Yeah. Yeah, if you've been through it before, it just really isn't as big of a deal as people think. I mean, you got to be prepared for it, and you got to understand like what you bought, and you got to have conviction, right? But yeah, I mean, this is what crypto does. It dips. You know, this is not abnormal. So it's opportunity. That's what we should see.
Yeah, man. It's just, yeah. Jimmy's waiting for the crash. Every millennial I know is waiting for the crash right now. So, I mean, are you a homeowner already?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I invest a little bit in crypto with in real estate with a group that does like, they have apartment complexes, and they do fix and flips and stuff like that. But I don't actually own like properties on my own yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Soon. Like you said, when the dip comes and prices are down, that's the time to pull the trigger.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing we learned in crypto, right? That's really is the school of hard knocks when it comes to investing, because the dips are extreme. And if you learn how to weather the storm and change your frame of mind and buy the dip and dollar cost average, when that opportunity comes in the housing market, or if you want to get into some stock, like, it's just, you're able to have such a better perspective on the whole thing. Let's see. Flips suck. Jerry Oaksman says he's done 15. You're like, stay away, bro. Well, sometimes you also got to learn it for yourself, right? I say late next year for real estate low. I don't even know, bro. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, so maybe mid next year, 2023. Wait, do you have any time frame on the real estate crash?
Me, I'm not gonna make any predictions. I don't know.
We're not experts in that field, you know.
Like, yeah, and it kind of like it cancels out too if interest rates change. Like they could keep going up, and if you're planning on financing and your interest rate is higher, like we saw, like all it takes is going from 3% to 6%, and your payment goes up $1,000 a month. You know, and so did the pullback really matter as much if you're financing it and paying it off over time? You know, so you got to factor that in too. Yeah, but if they keep raising interest rates,
it might even be just kind of a slow dip. Like it might not be a drastic 2008
pullback, which is probably good. Like we need a pullback.
Yeah, a pullback is, you know, a little bit different in people's eyes. I do think we are due for whether it's a pullback or a crash. I mean, we've gone straight up and to the right for the last 15 years in housing, right? So.
What's your background in? I assume you're not working a day job anymore, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've still got the side hustle. I sell courses and everything like that. That's what I do currently. But, you know, after college, I got an engineering degree, and then I ended up not doing engineering at all. Went to a finance company. It was very white collar kind of background, and I hated the culture. No offense, finance guys, but I wasn't really cut out for that work environment. I didn't want to be one of those old dudes with the suit on and you know, the $1 million a year job, but like at what cost? You know, it's like I don't want to sell my soul for that.
That's funny, because I actually got a finance degree. That's what I went to school for. I got a degree in finance and worked in like kind of like a part-time, like, you know, like worked in finance for a little bit, but I realized pretty quickly I didn't really think it was for me. Like,
I mean, respect to the people that do it. Like it's a hustle. It's a grind for the first couple of years. Like I know a lot of guys in investment banking that they are grinding 60, 80-hour weeks before they get that nice cushy position at the top. But also at the same time, it's like, you know, I was questioning what effect am I really having on the world? Am I really making a difference? Not as a lowball at a finance company. So I moved on to tech. I moved on to a consulting company where I made apps and websites. I was a project manager primarily for teams that would make apps and websites, and mostly apps for different Fortune 500 companies and stuff. So I got a lot of good experience there, probably 6 or 7 long-term clients under my belt. But I was doing crypto side gigs. I was doing side gigs and crypto like the whole time I was there, because I always had in the back of my mind, I wanted to get out of the rat race. And so when HEX came along, I jumped on it. And I've talked about all my failed business ideas before, but this was one that really took off. And so was lucky enough to be here today, not being told what to do by anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what turned me off to finance was that you're really just a salesperson, that you have a limited number of things you can sell, which is just securities, right? You get a securities license, a license to sell securities, and that's all you can really do, right? So if someone wants to get exposure to crypto, at least back then, maybe there's ways to get it now, but and the guy I worked for, he said they can't offer, their broker dealer won't let them add Bitcoin or Ethereum, even though there's like grayscale funds now to add to your portfolio. They say they're too risky and you can't put those in.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're really limited on like the advice you can give people and what you can sell them. It's like you just build a portfolio of stocks and that's it.
The irony, man. The irony.
Yeah.
You're a financial advisor, but you can't tell people to get the best performing asset in all of history.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You can't really give them advise them, in the best way that you'd like. You're very limited in what you could do. So that's what, and then you have to charge like high fees too. They're charging like 1.5%. And so like my friends that ask I want to invest in stocks, if that's what they're looking for, if they're like, I want to build a stock portfolio, I'm like, just go on like a Robo advisor and pay like 0.25% and use something like that. It's all automated, and if you understand what you're doing and you can stick to it, then you're going to do better off in the long run than using
I did a Robo advisor. I did a Wealthfront for a while, and then I was like, screw paying 1% to a wealth manager. I'm just going to have a robot do it, pay 0.1%. And now I'm not even in stocks at all anymore. But I mean, for someone that wants to play it safe, start off with that. You don't need your mutual fund manager guy taking 1% off the top. He's just going to invest in a basket of indexes anyway. So cut out the middleman, go to like Betterment or Wealthfront or one of these. I think Charles Schwab has one now. But fuck all that. Go into crypto, guys. Go into crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Wealthfront actually does have exposure to Bitcoin now, I think.
Oh, really?
JBTC. I think Betterment still doesn't, but I think Wealthfront does. Or if you use something like M1 Finance and do it on your own, you got a lot more options on there. And that's actually 0% management fees.
Wow.
But then you have to build your own portfolio, your pie, But yeah, there's a lot of options out there. Yeah, but yeah, you need crypto. Even if you're in that stuff, that's fine. But to have no exposure to crypto at all is just kind of, at this point, kind of ignorant, right? If you're just ignoring it altogether, there's so much opportunity. So
some people just they don't want to understand either. Sometimes they don't want to learn, or maybe their job is depending on their misunderstanding of it. A lot of people, if they did learn about crypto, they probably wouldn't be so bullish on anything else. You know what I mean? If you're in the typical traditional financial world, you start learning about cryptocurrency, you'll get made fun of by your peers. It's not a popular thing, even though it's been around for 12 years, 13 years. It's still kind of, as much that maybe the name, the brand is mainstream, but the actual understanding of it is, people look at it like a joke. I mean, look at Dogecoin. People just like to point at it and laugh. And now that it's crashed 90%, everyone likes to point their fingers and say, oh boy, I'm glad I didn't invest in that. Not even realizing that this is literally the time you need to be getting back in.
Yeah. Funny story about that is that the guy I worked for, I asked him one time, he was a financial advisor and I was kind of just his assistant for a while. And I asked him what he thought about Bitcoin, just kind of random. It came up in the conversation, and he just laughed like a loud, Bitcoin's a scam, said it so confidently. And this was years, this was a couple years ago.
Yep.
And I just thought it was so fun. I'm just like, oh, okay. Okay. You seem so sure of yourself, but all right.
I'll go home now.
And then the other guy, I worked for another guy doing taxes, and he's an advisor as well. and he bought. He told me, "Oh yeah, I have some crypto. I have some Bitcoin," and I'm like, "Oh cool. What fund is it?" And he told me, and it turned out it was Grayscale Ethereum, and he didn't even have any clue what Ethereum was, or that it was different from Bitcoin at all. And it was just so funny how little, like, these guys are financial advisors and they just don't, they're like buying stuff and not even knowing what it is they're buying or why.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, those kind of stories give me even more conviction, man. I mean, if the people pulling the strings of the financial institutions, they have no idea what's going on. Imagine how far ahead we are of the rest of society in general. We're early, guys. We're really, really early. So do yourself a favor and try to understand it. All right. So many people in finance, corporate are delusional in their own bubble. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing too. They're getting paid. Their salaries are based on the traditional system. They need to instill more faith in the system that's paying them the money, right? So they're going to recycle the same old narratives that they've been using for decades. But there are a lot of people. It depends where you look, right? You've got a lot of venture funds that are getting into crypto. It's more so just the old institutions, the classical ones that aren't. They're going to be slow to adapt. That's why we've already seen a whole bunch of new companies come up: the Coinbases, Krakens, Geminis of the world, Crypto.com. These are going to be your new institutions going forward. These are the new banks, basically. A lot of them, yeah, they're in cahoots with JP Morgan and BlackRock and all that stuff, but these are the new companies that are going to be on the NASDAQ in the future, and it's going to be your new Citibank or your new Bank of America. That's Coinbase and Kraken and all that.
Yeah, and like you said, there's like a group think that goes on in the finance world. Like if they can't sell Bitcoin, why would they want to tell you how great it is, right? Because they just want to talk about what they can sell you.
Everyone just wants to talk their book, man. If they don't own it, it's terrible. If they own it, it's great.
Right.
I mean, that goes with me too. I'm obviously biased because I own HEX, but I lay out the reasons why, and I regularly reassess to make sure I still believe in my original thesis. Turns out I've never been stronger on it. But
is there any crypto you got into that have you ever gotten scammed or gotten like, because I never have. Luckily I've managed to like avoid, I bought some shitcoins in the very beginning and ended up I had no reason why. So I just kind of like bought a basket of stuff and ended up selling them and going back into Bitcoin. And then when HEX launched, I got more educated and kind of learned. But I feel like the HEX community doesn't really fall for the most part, like fall for the stuff that a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
Did you ever have like a bad experience in crypto?
I don't have any really good scam stories. I never invested in BitConnect. I did invest like you did. I did a lot of shit coinery in 2017. So I probably held like 20 or 30 different random projects. Some names that ring a bell. They're probably not even around today, but Stratus, supposed to be like a Microsoft blockchain, whatever. Factum. I don't know if you remember Factum or like MadeSafe coin. Or all those old ones on Poloniex back in 2015, 2016. There was some coin that was like folding coin. It was supposed to be like DNA sequencing proof of work that powers. It was just all these white papers and dreams and nothing but vaporware. So I did invest in a lot of vaporware. Yeah, I might have dipped my feet into like EOS for like, but this is also back in the day where I wouldn't understand what holding long term even meant. I would hold these things for a couple weeks or months and then be like, okay, let's learn about something new now. And like, let's just jump ship. I didn't learn what actually makes people rich in crypto.
Yeah, I was the same way. I think a lot of people go through that when you're new in crypto. You just buy something because a friend tells you, oh, my friend that made a lot of money in crypto bought this thing and it's the next big thing. And you're like, okay, I better hurry up and get some, right?
All kinds of shit. Ant shares, Neo. What else was there? I might have done Litecoin a little bit. I remember ETC.
Those were my first, was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, just because those were like top. I thought like, okay, these are the safest.
Well, for a while, those were the only three Coinbase offered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, nice. What's up, RH Max? Thank you so much, bro. Really generous tip. Honestly, shout out to you and Bitfinesse. It's easy to cringe at new tickers, but the Maximus guys are locking up a ton of HEX with all these derivatives. How do you two balance new coins that inherently reduce buying power, but have positive feedback loops? Well, all the Maximus tokens, they're pretty much, they are HEX to me. They're so close to HEX that I don't look at them like much different than HEX. Like, yeah, maybe you can't track it. Nice. Space Force. I see you're also a member of the Space Force.
This is, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Anyway, yeah. So I don't look at Maxi like it's much of a different token than just buying a HEX, because it's ownership in a HEX staking pool. So again, a lot of my Maxi perpetuals are locked up in the Diamond Hands Club. So they are out of my control now. Like, they're basically, it's like I staked them. So I'm saving myself from myself. And I don't mind all those stickers. I know there's a lot of them, but I don't mind them. And I know they're doing a new one with Hedron. So I might join that one just to see what happens. I got to figure out my game plan with that one. But they want to buy up all the HSIs on the Hedron liquidation day. It's a lot, but if anything, it's keeping money in the ecosystem. It might be getting some new money into the ecosystem, not a lot, but hey, if we want to show the perpetuals to new people, I think that's a great starting place for people to onboard, because you're buying a HEX stake that you would not have the power to buy yourself. You're getting more rewards than you would yourself, and you can still lock them up with the Diamond Hands Club, which was a great innovation. This new Hedron one, Poly, it's called Poly Maximus. Yeah, I need to think more about it. I do have a tiny bit of liquid Hedron, so I might just toss it into the Poly thing. They're going to buy up a bunch of HSIs, probably get some good deals. They might even buy up some of the 10x multiplier HSIs. But all this stuff is so complex that I have a feeling it's more, what it's doing right now, the effect it's having is more keeping the community engaged during a really boring time. But it can also be utilized as an onboarding weapon to tell people they can get better rates. You know, they can behave as if they were a whale. If you buy the Deci smart contract, you're basically making a 10-year stake with the same proportional rewards as a whale, because the bigger pays better. You got any thoughts on those new ones?
So I missed, I kind of didn't pay attention enough when Maxi launched, and I didn't get in on that one, but you know, I saw it did well and proofs in the pudding. So this time around I got, some of the perpetuals, you know, kind of diversified, I guess, if you will, like among a couple different ones. So they're different time frames. I did have a question on those though, because I was thinking about them, and you know, I'm just wondering if people hold them to get like the yield in HEX while, because you're getting yield, I guess that's why they're going up a little more relative to HEX, right? Do you think they're going to dump relative to HEX at any point? Like if HEX pumps and, you know, next bull market, do you think they could be at a discount at that point?
I absolutely do. I think when everyone's chasing the HEX pump, they might even be foolish enough to sell out of their long-term perpetual stakes. So you might even see a deficit on those one day. I was expecting there to be a deficit from day one. I didn't understand why Maxi shot up to a 100% premium, like in the first couple of weeks. It was already at, you know, one Maxi was worth 2 HEX. And I was like, damn, I didn't expect it to happen that quickly, because the real fair value is only like 1.2, 1.3, you know, when you consider the burning and the yield already generated. I mean, we're only like 2% of the way into that 15-year stake. So there's not that much yield generated relative to what's going to be generated. So I didn't expect it to literally have a 100% premium that quickly. Because I was proven wrong, maybe the theory now is that the only group of people that like these perpetuals are the people that understand the long-term holding effect of HEX in general. So it ends up being a filter for the only people that even participate in these perpetuals are people with diamond hands to begin with, or people with long-term visions to begin with. We're already seeing the same thing start to play out on Deci Lucky Trio. There are premiums over the HEX spot price, but these premiums are pretty small, and you know they haven't skyrocketed yet like Maxi did. Will they? Maybe. But to your point, the interesting thing is maybe that's also because of the bear market. Maybe the bear market is driving people into these perpetuals based on sheer boredom. And then when the bull market comes back, maybe people rush to get back into liquid HEX. So they might sell some of their perpetuals. And just because there's only ever been a premium doesn't mean that there can't be a discount one day. But if there's a discount, that's a huge buying opportunity to me for the perpetuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because I kind of look at them just as like liquid HEX, right? I mean, that's earning yield in a way, right? Because it's going to be redeemable at the end of the whatever the length is, 15 years for Maxi, 10 for Deci. So if you're holding HEX anyways, then why not hold the perpetual instead, right? And I think maybe that's how a lot of people are looking at it, because then they can get out at any point if they need to. And that's what I'm just thinking ahead, like if there is a pump in the HEX price, if people are going to either go back into HEX or cash out completely, and then they'll be at a discount to HEX.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean the echo's annoying. That's probably me because I'm not using a mic.
I mean, let me know if it's still a problem, guys. I'll try to. I put my mic away from my monitors
if it's real bad.
But yeah, there are. I don't think it's that bad. I can't really hear too much of it, but yeah. I mean, so there's a Diamond Hands Club thing where you do get penalized if you break your stake. It's not nearly the same as the penalties of emergency end staking. So there's a comment in the chat that you're right. It doesn't have an EES option, but it's pretty damn close to a stake for all intents and purposes. For someone like me that never emergency end stakes anyway, like that doesn't really affect me. So I think it's and yeah, you can emergency end your Diamond Hands Club stake, and the penalties are far less, but you still do get penalized. So there is some element of you should probably stick to your word if you're going to do the Diamond Hands Club. But the penalties that get essentially burned or whatever, they get distributed back, I think, to team stakers, I believe.
So how does that work exactly with the Diamond Hands? It's a lower penalty, right? It's like 20%.
Yeah, it's not. I gotta look up the exact number of the penalty. Let's see here. Diamond Hands. On September 5th, they launched Diamond Hands. Each of the perpetuals has its own Diamond Hands Club, so you can stake your perpetual. Let's see, early unlock penalties go to the reward bucket, and they're claimable by other people in the Diamond Hands Club that lock for the entire period. Okay, so I guess they don't actually go to team people. That was not true. You can unlock your tokens at any time. If you unlock early, there will be a penalty to be determined. Let me go to the actual screen.
Also, let's talk about team after this too, because that's the only one that's at a discount right now to the launch price, right?
Yeah. Team is at a discount to Maxi, I think slightly, but not much. And it might actually be a little higher now.
It's funny, right after launch, I was looking at the price of each of them in HEX terms, because that's how you would look at the perpetuals, because they were a 1-to-1 to HEX. And then I looked at team to HEX, and I was like, holy shit, it's up like 2x or 2.5 times just a day after launch. But that's because I was looking at team versus HEX, not team versus Maxi.
Yeah.
And Maxi was already up 2.5 times, right? So that made sense.
Yeah. Does anybody have the website for the perpetuals?
Maximus DAO. Maximus.cash.
No, I mean, there's all these websites now. Yeah, it's maximusdao.com, but then there's like another interface for the actual perpetual contracts to interact with them. I'm just trying to see what the Diamond Hands Club penalty is. Because I know it's not as bad as emergency end staking, but it's probably still significant. Dashboard. Yeah, I don't know if I can.
So it's maximusdao.com/perpetuals.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
No. That's not actually it.
Oh, it's not? Because you
No.
need the app,
I
right?
need the actual app. Does anybody have the app link? GranddaddyPerpetuals.com. No. That one didn't work, Bitfinesse. PVM Crypto says EES is what drives the price up. Yeah, I mean, the EES was a very well-designed intention with HEX because the stakers get rewarded directly. Whereas with Diamond Hands Club, the only people that get rewarded are other people in the Diamond Hands Club. So it's definitely different. Definitely different. I don't know, better or worse. I do like the original HEX staking system in general. I'm not done making OG HEX stakes, right? Like I'm not going to go completely into Maximus, but I do think it's an attractive option that a different segment of the population may want. But like I said earlier, if anything, it's just keeping people a little more. It's a little bit of a speculative stickiness for people during the bear market. I don't know why I can't find their app anymore. What the hell? Because now they just route to Uniswap links. Let me go in their Telegram. All right.
There's also team.maximus.cash, but that
let me try that.
That might be it.
Okay, yeah, and then the other one is perpetuals. Here we go. Too many subdomains. Okay. Diamond Hands Club, you get a 20% penalty. So yeah, 20% penalty is not nearly as bad as emergency end staking. Damn, all that work. Wow, that's Jay. What's up?
Okay, confirmed.
Yeah, it's 20%, not 25. Okay, guys. I mean, any last questions or any? Where do you buy your HEX? How about this question from Flat Smack?
Yeah, I mean, all I've ever used actually is Uniswap. I haven't used Matcha or any of the other ones. Uniswap, I know it's not as good of a deal, but it works just fine, and
yeah,
that's what I'm comfortable with. So
I mean, if you're brand new watching, I would just say get a MetaMask account, metamask.io. Make sure you get that. That's like your actual wallet that holds all your real crypto money that you own, your private keys. Then I would get an account at either Coinbase or Kraken. If you're in the US, I like Coinbase and Kraken. If you're in a place like New Zealand, you are not going to be able to use Coinbase. So what I recently found out is that if you're in New Zealand, maybe Australia, I'm not sure, you'll probably have to use crypto.com. And all these websites, crypto.com, Coinbase, Kraken, they're just your bridge from the fiat world into the crypto world. So you can connect your bank account, send in your dollars from your bank to like a Coinbase, convert to digital dollars, USDC, and Ether, transfer that back out into your MetaMask wallet, and then go to uniswap.org and do your buying all right there. I know it's like a 4-step process, but hey, when it becomes easy, it'll be too late. You know what I mean? It's a difficult barrier to entry, but if you want to figure it out, you'll figure it out. It just takes, a little bit of Googling. Or I have a course, hexpassiveincome.com. Teaches you everything from zero to hero. How many wallets are you preparing for Zen? I'm only going to do like 10 because I have too much other shit to do. You know what I mean? I have a life and I can't just spend my whole day. I'm not going to spend my whole day making wallets and funding them with gas. But if you want to spend some time doing that, maybe it'll work out for you. I hope it does work out. But then again, like it also makes me think if everybody's making 100 wallets, that C rank is going to go up pretty damn quick. I don't know if you've looked into Zen at all, but
I actually haven't. I was going to ask you. Yeah, it's funny. I've wanted to. I've seen it. It's on my radar, but I haven't gone like deep into it.
Oh, what's up, Maddie? How you doing? Yeah, Staker app, and again, if you're a newbie, you can do everything from Staker app right there, one app. That actually might be your better option. You're going to pay a little more in gas fees, but if you're brand new and you don't want to deal with Coinbase, MetaMask, all that crap, just Staker app. That's all you need.
Staker app's super awesome. I love it, and I'm excited for their coming out with like a new version pretty soon.
Me too.
Yeah, it's just the only thing is like it makes claiming other coins and other airdrops or things, it makes it a little more difficult. There's like more steps involved, and
yeah,
that's the only really like downside.
I think it's the difference between like a power user and just an everyday average user. Like a lot of us in the chat, we prefer the hard way, which is MetaMask, Coinbase, and all that stuff, because you can hook your MetaMask up into all these different applications and really, really get the most out of DeFi. Staker app is it's more direct and to the point. If you're just an everyday person and you don't want to deal with all this complicated crypto stuff, all you want to do is buy and stake your HEX. I would go Staker app all the way, because I keep forgetting to mention that because I'm such a nerd basically. And so a lot of people just don't give a shit about all this stuff. They just want to get the HEX, stake it. And in that case, Staker app is definitely the best way, because they're also going to support, like you just mentioned, they're going to support PulseChain when their V2 comes out.
Yeah. So what's your take on Zen? Like the elevator pitch? And what you like about it?
I mean, it's just it's the idea is that it has a fair distribution, right? So anybody can claim for free. You can stake for a maximum of 20% APY. The APY goes down over time, and you can claim. And based on the amount of days that you wait before you claim, you get a higher bonus when you do claim. So if you say, I'd like to claim my Zen in 100 days, you're going to be able to claim more Zen than a guy that said, I'd like to claim my Zen in 10 days. So it has to do with basically you're rewarding earlier adopters, but you're also decreasing the reward given based on the number of adopters. There's a variable called the global rank. So whatever your rank position is compared to the global rank, that's just the number of claimers. Basically, however many people claim after you kind of determines how much rewards you get, as well as the amount of time you wait before you receive your claim. And then on top of all that, there's a staking component to it, which it's all very interesting if you want to read the white paper. But a lot of people, if you don't have time for it, don't worry about it. It's a free token. And I think it's going to be a good lesson in what happens when you give a free token to everybody. Like, I think we need a little bit of a reminder as to what tragedy of the commons is and why things that you give away for free to everybody, people don't value things that you give away for free as much as things that you pay for. So a lot of the free claimers in Bitcoin, in HEX, the Bitcoin free claimers, they didn't really become hardcore into HEX. Do I think Zen is going to fail? No, I think Zen's probably going to be around for a while. It's going to be an interesting experiment, and I'm definitely going to claim it and watch it. But I think it might have a couple of pumps and dumps in price, but I just don't think it's going to have the same shape price chart that HEX has. Like I don't see it making the same mad gains, but if it has any value at all, I should probably claim it, right? So I mean, I'm not going to start shilling Zen, but the claim phase is on Saturday. So,
but it's advantageous to wait to claim. You get more the longer you wait.
Well, you don't want to wait. You want to claim right away, but you want to delay. So I should different. There's a claim and then mint.
Oh, okay.
You want to claim right away, but then mint it at a later date. And the bigger that gap is, the more you can mint.
Like Hedron, right?
Yeah, well, kind of, but not quite. Hedron really heavily. If you claimed in the first 10 days, there was like a speed bonus, whereas this is a how long can you delay gratification bonus. Like, because you got to claim right away to get your rank position in number one or very early, but you can wait for 1,000 days or 10,000 days. Like, I don't know what the maximum is, but you can just wait as long as you want before you mint, and then you'll be rewarded much, much more heavily if you wait longer. So it's a really interesting dynamic. I just think that there are going to be people that spam it up too by just making a ton of accounts and just keep claiming, right? So we're going to I think we're going to see the global rank go up a lot because people are going to game the system that way by just creating a shit ton of accounts. And then I don't know who's going to carry the torch of the narrative, right? Like, people need to keep adoption alive in these things. And if everyone gets free coins, I don't think anybody becomes like a main. You know what I mean? Like it's a long road.
What's the criteria to be able to claim? Just to have a wallet?
Zero. Not have a wallet with gas.
That's it. So everybody with an Ethereum wallet gets to claim?
Yeah. If you have the money to pay for the gas fee, you can claim Zen. And also, it might be a nice onboarding tool for people when PulseChain comes out, because you could say, hey, guys, you can free claim this coin if you want. Like, if you want to play around with some coin. Yeah. Oh, so I guess you have to, it's 100 days for the first 5,000 claimers. Okay. Yeah, there's some minor details I'm not too familiar with. Like I read the white paper maybe a couple weeks ago, so they might have added some stuff since then. Anyway, interesting, but I'm not. I don't think it's like going to be the future of finance, but might be worth a little money, guys. So there you go. All right, guys. I gotta go to the bathroom, so let's call this stream done. And again, really appreciate you having me on, Jimmy. Any last words?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, like I said before, it's great to be on and talk to you. I don't think we've ever even talked face to face, but it's really cool to meet you and talk with you, and you're someone that I've kind of watched for a while and appreciate what you do.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, hopefully at the next meetup or something, if I make it out. I made it to the first one in Vegas, and I think you were there too, but we didn't cross paths. But I hope to meet up with you in person someday.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll see you later, guys. Like and subscribe. You know the deal. See ya.